We are following very big news on immigration. President Biden is expected to sign an executive action tomorrow that will temporarily shut down the border when daily migrant crossings hit 2,500. Daily encounters at the border are currently sitting at around 4,000, which means a shutdown could go into effect immediately. Let's bring in Christina Greer, Fordham University Associate Professor of Political Science, and Tim Miller, host of the Bulwark podcast and former communications director for Republican Jeb Bush. Tim, what do you make of this move, right? It's Trump's tagline that he's going to shut down the border, and now President Biden's actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that he feels a political obligation to do this. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on the border. If you look at the polls, voters are more likely to support Trump on the border, despite his grotesque child separation policy, despite the fact that Trump scuttled the bipartisan border deal earlier this year that was coordinated by the Democrats alongside conservative Republican James Lankford of Oklahoma. So I think Biden feels the need to do something. I think even, objective analysts look at this and say, hey, the asylum system is a little bit out of control. I think it's worth mentioning the border encounters are down, over the last few months, but still, particularly the asylum seekers, those numbers are at a high level, higher than they had been typically in years past. So I think that it's Biden's effort to, address a political vulnerability and I think correctly be able to say, look, I'm trying to solve these problems. Donald Trump is only looking out for himself, and I think that message works for him across a number of issues, and this would be one.
Do you think these efforts are going to change the narrative for him? Because the border has been a vulnerability until just a few months ago.
I think it's probably a little bit too late to really change the narrative in a major way, though I will say I think it's important to do it because, to my last point, I think it can ladder up into a number of issues where this can be one point where Biden says, look, you might not like every specific policy decision I made across these issues. I think that could be a message to center-right voters or to left voters for that matter. But I'm out here trying to solve problems. I'm willing to work with people to my left, to my center right, to try to get things done. You saw it on infrastructure, you saw it on chips, you saw it on guns, and that's what I'm trying to do. Meanwhile, this other guy is a narcissistic psychopath that's only worried about himself and was happy to scuttle bipartisan issues if he thought it helped him politically. I think that's a message that works. I think that's a more likely outcome of this than people actually saying they think he's doing a great job on the border.
Christina, Nikki Haley has now officially endorsed Donald Trump, but with immigration policies like this on the part of President Biden, could he win at least some of those voters?
I think he could, but it boils down to framing, and we know that the Democrats aren't always great at that. And, Joe Biden needs to articulate to weak-leaning Republicans and independents, and even weak-leaning Democrats, that, as Tim said, he's actually doing something. I mean, we know that Donald Trump doesn't understand a topography map and wants to build walls, through rivers, which is not possible. I think this also helps him with Latino voters. We've seen that Latino voters are very concerned and vocal about immigration and undocumented immigration coming from Mexico north. And so that might help him with Latinos in states like Texas and Arizona, where his numbers are slipping.
Tim, let's talk about numbers because, let's wait. I want to stay on this because as you're both talking about Joe Biden and who is going to stick with Joe Biden, I'm thinking about Laura Trump because over the weekend she attacked Larry Hogan, the former Maryland governor who is now running for Senate. His seat is so crucial, right? Republicans need him to win this seat. And you just a moment ago were calling Trump, what was it, a narcissistic psychopath who's focused only on his self-interest? On what planet does it make sense for Laura Trump and Trump himself and Trump allies to go after Larry Hogan? They need him to win.
Well, no. I mean, on the planet where all Donald Trump cares about his own power and having a stranglehold over the party and a belief that if he gets back into the White House, he'll be able to do whatever he wants. He's not interested in doing what Joe Biden's doing and working with the Senate on bipartisan solutions. I mean, Project 2025 is mostly about executive orders that have varying degrees of authoritarian impulses, associated with them. And so I don't think he's worried about his Senate vote count. I think he's worried about about dominating the party and demonstrating strength or whatever BS macho stuff he's worried about. And so if there's any dissent within the party, it has to be stamped out. So that's why you see Larry Hogan, who's just defending the rule of law. That's literally all he did, was say that we should respect, the rule of law in this country. You see him getting attacked by the RNC in a way that no crazy no insurrectionist, no extremist, no conspiracist was ever criticized by the RNC, during the Ronna McDaniel years.
Shouldn't controlling the Senate, winning the Senate, be a top priority for Donald Trump, Christina?
One would think, but don't forget, Donald Trump had unified government for 2 years and didn't know what to do with it. And so what concerns me is that, as Tim has said, he's really more interested in draconian measures and executive orders. And if we remember, executive orders have been used over time for really beautiful and productive things. The Emancipation Proclamation, integrating the armed forces, forming the Peace Corps. They've also been used to put Japanese, German, and Italian folks in concentration camps all across this country, or internment camps, as we called them. So we know that Donald Trump wants just a unilateral level of power, and so he doesn't care about Hogan. I mean, the fact that we are sitting here talking about Lara Trump as the co-RNC chair and his daughter-in-law, I mean, we're seeing what happens in other nations where people are just propping up family members in seriously leadership positions. But I think, honestly, Larry Hogan saying that he will respect the will of law does help him. It doesn't help him get money from the RNC, but I do think that it helps him with Maryland voters. Maryland is very purple. He's running against an African-American woman, and we know that people twist themselves in knots not to vote for qualified women time and time again. And so I think that helps him with weak-leaning Republicans, independents, and weak-leaning Democrats.